Hello and welcome once again to the PokerTracker 4 7-day orientation. My name is Sky Matsuhashi of SmartPokerStudy.com, and we are glad you're here for day 5, where we're going to discuss the Holdem Hand Range Visualizer. Let's roll. So a quick itinerary for today. Once again, do as you consume video. So hopefully you're watching this on your PokerTracker 4 computer. You're liberally using that pause button below the video. Pause it and follow along in PokerTracker 4 as we go through the Holdem Hand Range Visualizer, which you can see on the right there. We're going to talk about your various reporting options so you can tailor this report to give you the exact details that you need to dive into your preflop hand selections to improve your skills. Of course, when we find some hands to review, we're going to do some reviews. And at the end, we're going to end with 2 action steps. I hope you're ready. So let's get you to the Holdem Hand Range Visualizer. Looking at the Statistics tab, there's various reports that you can view this tab as. We're on the summary right here. This is where we do most of our work. Scroll on down, Holdem Hand Range Visualizer. Now you're going to see something like this in your own computer. I'll explain this in a sec, but just for now, maybe you've already found this and you've messed around with it in the past. Click on voluntarily put money into the pot, so choose that heat map statistic. Click every position and then turn off the number of player filter. We're going to go back through and change this stuff in a little bit, but I want your view to kind of mimic mine right now, so we can kind of go through and look at the exact same things together. So this right here, this is the heat map for all the different hands that you have played. If you have VPIP selected, all the hands that you voluntarily put money into the pot across all these different positions. Now, you can see there's some darker green, some lighter green. That just basically tells you how often you play the hands. You can see the darkest hands, ace, king, ace, queen, king, queen offsuit, ace, jack offsuit. These are the ones that I've played most often. That's why they're the darkest. All these lighter ones, I've only played 10 deuce suited one time. Now, these percentages down here, 0.54, 2.84, 5% ace king, that means out of all the hands that I've VPIP'd, I have VPIP'd 5% of the time with ace king offsuit, 2.03% with pocket kings, 2.97 with queens, and so on right here. You can see all these ones were 0.14. Actually, 0.14 is probably just one hand, so let's click on it right now. And you can see down here, yes, I VPIP'd with Jack 9 offsuit only one time. Down here, this 10-3 suited looks like one time as well, right? But click up on the pocket aces for you. Now, when you click on any given hand, this results for that hand will show up. This is me, the player name, of course. Hands, I have VPIP'd with it 21 times. My currency won with this hand, $46. Lovely winnings, right? VPIP and PFR, of course, I'm always raising with pocket aces. I'm never the kind of player that calls pre-flop with aces. Not saying that's a bad thing, I just don't do it. So because we have VPIP turned on, this is obviously going to be 100% no matter what. But PFR pre-flop raising, I'm raising 100% of the time with pocket aces. AFQ aggression frequency, post-flop, it's really high, 88% right there. Went to showdown with pocket aces, I've gotten there 62.5% of the time, and won money at showdown. Well, 100%, I guess. So I've been pretty lucky every time I've got to showdown with the pocket aces, I've actually won. I didn't make maybe a bad river call, and they beat me with 2 pair versus my aces. I've been lucky and won them all. Now, the thing I love about the heat map, it's a candid look at the hands that you choose to play pre-flop. And sometimes it can actually be a brutal look, right? You might think to yourself, I'm VPIPing 10 deuce, 10 3, 9 4, king 3. What is up with that? Why would I play these hands? Well, you might think to yourself, these aren't in my ranges. I would never play those hands. But the HHRV, Holdem Hand Range Visualizer, it's going to tell you exactly what you play. No holds barred. There's no denying this information here. So if you look at your screen and you see a lot of hands that I do not understand why I would play this hand, how does that happen? Well, you know, what you can do from that point is, like, you look at King 3 offsuit. Why would I ever play King 3 offsuit? Let's click on it right here. You can see 0.14% of the time I VPIP'd with King 3 off. It's only one hand. Let's go ahead and double click on it. Maybe I had a really good reason for playing King 3 offsuit. Interesting. So it's a 6 max table I was seated at, but there was just 2 of us. I was in the small blind, the best position. So it looks like I open raise right there. Okay, understandable. I kind of have a, I understand why I would play King 3 offsuit in this instance. We can go through and review the rest of the hand, but that's the kind of thing that you're using the heat map for. You're looking for hands that just don't make sense. Why would I play that? Why would I play that? And what's going to happen is you're going to go through. Now, it makes sense why I played King 3 offsuit. But occasionally you're going to find hands like, oh my gosh, these hands do not deserve to be played no matter what. Oh, I called versus a raiser with 10 deuce suited. What's going on? Review that hand, find out what mistakes you're actually making. And so you're basically questioning questionable hand strengths right here. All right, so let's talk about making some changes to the report right here. First off, by the number of players. So you saw with that King 3 offsuit, this is actually a heads-up situation on a 6-max table. I like to first look from 2 to 10 players, and that's what we're looking at now, just every single hand where I VPIP'd, didn't matter the number of players dealt into the hand, right? But I also like to look at 3 to 10 players, so I'm not looking at any heads-up spots. Click on number of players right here. And then in the drop down, choose 3. So between 3 to 10 players, you can see that King 3 offsuit has now disappeared, but a lot of those hands kind of remain the same, right? Let's take a look at also at 7 to 10 when I play those full ring games. Now, out of my database, this was 4,700 hands. Most of them are 6-max, but occasionally I jump on those full ring tables. Let's see what I VPIP on full ring tables. Huge difference, right? The more players involved, I am VPIPing less often because, especially in the early and middle positions, have too many players left to act. So I don't VPIP nearly as often in these spots. So looking at this, are there any hands that really stand out that are questionable? Well, King 3 suited is a hand I often open raise on the button, maybe in the small blind. Ace 5 offsuit as well. 6-4 suited, maybe I had a good reason to open raise right here. Let's take a look at this Ace 5 offsuit hand. That's kind of questionable. 10 and L, I won 7.7 big blinds for it. Oh, maybe this is why I played this hand, right? It's generally a hand I don't play unless I'm open raising, but I was facing 2 different limpers, and I made the raise, and then I bet on the flop when I hit a top pair hand. Let's take a look at this hand. Was this actually a good opportunity in a full ring game to play with Ace 5 offsuit? Oh, as you can see, this is my smart HUD for PokerTracker 4. It's my own tailored, handmade HUD. If you want to get this for yourself, if you want to check it out, go to smartpokerstudy.com/smarthud. So we see a 50/18 player limp in, fold. Oh, 43-0 player. It's only 7 hands, but looking very loose passive, also limping in. In general, anybody who limps in is a loose passive player. They're targets at the table. So yes, it makes sense why I would choose to ISO raise right here. And let's just move this so we could see it. These are table stats, 45-9, VPIP, PFR, and 3-bet at 3%. Not a lot of 3-betters on this table. But anyway, the reason, and I often like to do this when I'm reviewing hands, get rid of the player stats that just folded and they're not a concern anymore, right? But I like the fact that I played this hand this way. I'm ISO raising against the 2 weakest players at the table. You can see they're short stacked players. Their stats are very passive. They do a ton of limping, calling, and obviously they limp, right? So my goal with making this raise is to get the 2 weakest players heads up. One of them heads up, or maybe both of them in a pot against me. And look at it. He folds 75% versus C-bets. Good player to get heads up to the flop. We get a fold and a fold. Oh, another fold. This player ends up calling. Okay, I'm fine with that. So when I am reviewing questionable hand strengths in the Holdem Hand Range Visualizer, I look to see that I'm making decent pre-flop plays, but then I also continue hand reading post-flop just to see if maybe there's some other mistakes I found in this hand. Hit that pair of aces, kind of a wet board, flush draws, straight draws available. A pair of kings can call, maybe even a pair of 9s that doesn't want to believe I have an ace or a king, right? A lot of reasons to c-bet right now. I bet 8 big blinds, hoping a king, a flush draw can call, and he ends up folding. But hey, I won 7.7 big blinds for that nice ISO raise pre-flop that I made. So that's the look to 7 to 10 players. For the rest of this video, let's bring it down to 3 to 10 players so we can see 6 max and full ring, but we were dealt with at least 3 players involved. All right, so I hope you're still following along with your own copy of PokerTracker 4, because now we're going to be making some changes to this report. We're going to start off right now thinking about the different heat map statistics. When you are looking, when you're using the Holdem Hand Range Visualizer. I tend to look at areas where I know I have problems, right? V-pipping, I don't personally have a problem. Limped with previous limpers? Yeah, I've done it what looks like 4 times here. I don't have a problem with limping. But if you find yourself limping way too often, this would be a great heat map statistic for you to check out. Go ahead and click it right now. See how much green that you have. If you see a ton of green, way too many hands, then you know that limping is probably an area for you. Click on preflop 3-bet right now. So you can see I 3-bet with a ton of different hands, taking advantage of different players who open raise. I think they're going to fold. I'm going for value with aces. I'm bluffing with ace-4 suited, all that kind of stuff, right? So I have a lot of 3-bet bluffing hands, or 3-betting hands in general. But if you click on preflop 3-bet right now, and you only see aces and kings and ace-king suited and queens, wow, you're not 3-betting enough, right? That's a potential leak. You need to get a little bit more active with aggression, aggressive 3-bets, pre-flop that is. So these are the default statistics that you're going to see right here. But so you want to filter for known weaknesses, like I said, limping with previous limpers. But a lot of players, they have a problem with losing when they call pre-flop 2-bets way often. That heat map statistic actually is not here. So let's go ahead and add it. And we'll add this one, 2-bet, then call a 3-bet at the same time. So right now, click on the little wrench icon. Now, this is the list of heat map statistics matches this one here. First off, I don't see any reason to have one when saw flop, went to showdown, so I'm double clicking to remove them all. That double clicks and it removes those. Because one when saw flop, I can do that with any hand. It doesn't matter. What I'm looking at is the hand that I have and the way I play them pre-flop. So let's add call pre-flop 2-bet. So type in the search, call PF2, and then call pre-flop 2-bet. Go ahead and double click it. And it populates at the bottom of the list. So once we hit OK, it's going to take place of one when saw flop right here. Now, another common leak that my students have is losing way too much money when they raise and then call a 3-bet. So instead of call PF2-bet, call PF3-bet, but after raising. So they made that first 2-bet an open raise pre-flop, somebody 3-bet them, and then they called. So go ahead and find this, double click it for yourself, populates at the bottom, let's hit OK. And then bam, those 2 new heat map statistics populated for us. So go ahead right now, whichever one you think is your biggest leak, biggest potential leak, click on it. And for me, it's call preflop 3-bet after raising. Oh, interesting. And I haven't done it too often. I called with 6-5 off. What is going on here? Let's click on that. So like I said, you want to review the questionable hands. Maybe I had a great reason to call, but it looks like a crappy hand. Who would ever call 3-bet with 6-5 offsuit? But let's actually take a look at this hand. Pop it open. So right now for you, you could follow along with me or take a look at your own Holdem Hand Range Visualizer and find any questionable hands that you've called 3-bets with. Okay, open raise of 3. I love it. Loose passive players right here. I'm trying to isolate one of the players. Love the open raise. A call. Oh, okay. I guess that's why. Very passive player in general. 3-bet at 6%, but I don't think he's going to come back over the top with a 4-bet. So that's why I called this 3-bet. Now, I think I'd probably be better off just folding right here. 5-6 offsuit's probably not worth another 2 big blinds. He's a very passive player in general. His 3-bet's telling me he's got the goods. I'm going to have to get really lucky on the flop to win chips in this pot. So folding would probably be a better play right here, even though it's only 2 big blinds. But he calls and he's sweeting that pot, right? I had to call 2 to just win 15. It's not too bad. That means I have to win 1 out of every 7 right now. Roughly 1 out of 7. Ooh, pair plus gut shot. Nice, check. And a half pot bet. So maybe I decided to call right here because I have a pair plus a decent draw. I think he could be doing this with ace-king, ace-queen. Pocket pairs, if I hit a 5, a 6, a 4, I'm going to crush his now pocket 8s and 9s and 10s and stuff. So I make the call. And this guy's so loose passive, I expect him to fold most of the time right here. Which he does. Great. Now we're heads up. Ooh, 2 pair now. Loving this spot. He checks. I hope I bet for value. Oh, maybe I'm trying to get a call out of ace-king. Maybe I'm trying to get a crying call, going for some thin value out of an ace-high hand. Or maybe even hoping pocket aces will come over the top and re-raise me. He just calls. The 9 hits, not scared of that. Sure, an 8 makes a straight. I hope I value bet. Yes! Value bet small. I bet he can call with an overpair, tens and jacks. He could call with ace, king of diamonds, not believing I have anything with two streets of small bets, right? And he ends up folding, but at least I did go for value on this river. So I don't like the fact that I called pre-flop with this hand, but given that I was able to get value out of it, I think it's a well-played post-flop hand. And that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for. Analyze those pre-flop, analyze those post-flop decisions as well. Alrighty, one of the things I also like to do is a little bit of positional analysis right here, making sure that while we have every hand selected, so I 2-bet and then called a 3-bet out of all the positions with these hands right here, right? But oftentimes it's a really good idea to take a look at your various heat map statistics by certain positions to see if you have any positional leaks. So let's go like this. I want to look at raised first in. Now, all together, with 3 or more players, raise first in, pretty wide range. I'm all over the place right here. But I'm hoping, if I look at the early position, I'm not going to see 10 deuce, 10 5, jack 6, queen 7, king 8, 10 9, right? All the hands that should not be in an early position open raising range. So let's deselect everything except for early position. And do this right now for yourself. Raise first in, keep the EP on, turn off the cutoff. Nice. So you can see how constricted, how narrow my raising first in ranges are from the EP. We could take a look and start analyzing these hands. So if I ask myself, I'm in the early position, what hands stand out to me? Why did I raise with some of these potentially weaker hands? Now, the first one that I notice is king 10 offsuit, right? That's not a bad hand to raise under the gun, but man, it can present some problems. You got 5 players left to act. I'm going to be folding to 3 bets like crazy, right? So let's see what happens. You can see it's an unopened pot. Oh, I'm in the EP. So I raise first in, I bet, and I check, turn, and a river. Let's take a look at the action here. Raise first in, da-da-da. Oh, so this is interesting. Before we look at the actions that I'm presented with, first off, before I open raise, look around the table, right? 67-20, 68-55, 54-8, 34-9, 59-3, fishy players up the wazoo. You can see how I color-coded their box green, big gap between VPIP and PFR. I think the reason I raise right here is because I would love to get either one of these players heads up. If I make it 3 and they all fold, if either of these players call, look at that. They're calling with super wide ranges. He calls 50%. He calls 23% of the time. He folds on the flop 67, folds 80%. These are great players they'll call you and build that pot pre-flop, and they give up easily on the flop. So that's why I open raised. So I don't fault this, even though it's a weaker hand than usual. I open raised because of the opponents at the table. Call and a call. Generally not what you want, right? To go multi-way with king 10 offsuit out of position versus 2 other players. But hey, look at that. Top pair, not a great kicker, but it does give me a flush blocker, maybe even a winning flush draw hand as well. And I bet betting for value right here, knowing that any random diamond can call, ace, queen, jack of diamonds, maybe even the 9 of diamonds can call. Weaker kings can call. King 6, an 8-9 might call me right now. Plenty of stuff that's calling right now versus me. And we get a call. Good. So we're heads up. A little bit easier to play when you're just heads up. Now, this is a guy who never so far, 0 out of 1 folding to C-bets. But I decide to check, just pot controlling right here. I'm just hoping that he doesn't bet. I might have a hard time calling on the turn right now, depending on his bet size. And he checks behind. Great. Letting me keep the pot small in order to see that river card. And a 3 comes, hit that diamond. I check, and I might be checking because I want to induce a bluff from him. I have the diamond flush. Maybe he can bet with a king 10 or a king jack himself right now. Now, king jack had 2 pair. He would have bet the prior street. King queen, king 10, king 9 could come out with a bet right now. And I guarantee I would have called, but ended up, 6-9. He had the 6 of diamonds when he called on that flop. An open ender plus the 6 high flush draw. So good. Got some value out of that one. There was another questionable hand that I saw, ace 8. In early position, I generally don't open ace 8. So let's double click this one. Hopefully you're double clicking on some of your own hands, pausing this video and kind of reviewing them for yourself. Open this bad boy up, 3 big blinds. Why did I do this? Once again, loose passive, loose passive, loose passive, loose passive. It's a decent hand. I just want to get involved with somebody and outplay them, maybe even outflop them and get a value post flop. Okay, sorry for that loudness of that right there. He shoved 25 big blinds, easy fold at this point, right? Super loose passive player, 27-0. Haven't seen any aggression from him pre-flop yet, and he commits 25 big blinds. My ace-8 offsuit is not worthy of calling. So I like the open raise, and I like the fold. All right, it's time for us to take some action. So 2 action steps for you today. Number 1, use the Holdem Hand Range Visualizer to analyze a preflop area of opportunity. Whatever you think you have issues, wherever you think your leaks reside, take a look at that. Find that heat map statistic, click it, and start going by position to look at all the hands that you're playing in that way. Of course, review any hands, note mistakes, study better strategies with the goal of implementing those strategies the next time you play. Now, the second action step is to play 200 more hands today, right? You've got to put those hands in. You've got to be practicing. You have your own HUD. Of course, please use your HUD. Play 200 more hands and work on those strategies, plugging those preflop areas of opportunity. And of course, tomorrow, day 6, we're going to talk about the My Reports tab. So on behalf of PokerTracker 4, this is Sky Matsuhashi saying thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 6, My Reports.